Today I'm on the southwestern tip of the Peloponnese in Messinia, one of the most historic and bountiful places to live in Greece.
Mwah, mwah.
I'm sharing a meal full of local flavors with an old friend. The Greek mother in me is saying, Peter, you're not eating. And I'll visit the home of two Messinian cooks who will show me how to make a local pork dish. In the kitchen, I'll make a comforting chicken noodle soup. This is the taste of every Greek home. And a spinach tart with kalamata olives. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would definitely give this a 10. Join me on my Greek table for a delicious meal in Messinia. Messinia, the ultimate Mediterranean destination. Hugged by the sea, defined by the historic and picturesque Bay of Navarino, towered over by imposing mountains, but also wide open with expansive groves of olives, figs, and more. I'm in Messinia for a little R&R, and I'm going to meet my good friend Peter. Hello!
Diane, welcome to Messina.
Whose idea of a great weekend is to hole up in a fabulous villa.
Welcome.
Fit for a king as legendary as Nestor. Indeed, the palace of the renowned Mycenian king is close by in the town of Pylos. Fabulous antiquities, nature preserves, incredible beaches, and some of the most familiar and famous Greek products all can be found in this historic, fertile land. But I'm here for more prosaic reasons. Literally to enjoy Messinia's natural beauty, which has truly been blessed by the gods, and to indulge in some delicious local specialties.
Just so you get your bearings, what we're looking at right now is the Ionian Sea. So we're looking west. We're actually facing Italy, actually Sicily.
Okay.
To the left or to the south of us is the famous Bay of Navarino.
Okay, very historic place in Greece.
Yeah, one of the most historic, especially in Greek modern history, because it was where one of the definitive battles of the Greek War of Independence was fought.
Thank you for taking me on this lovely walk.
You're very welcome.
It's like the whole Mediterranean is right at our fingertips here.
I mean, I think that's one of the really nice things about this region, about Messinia, is this connection that people have with the land.
I noticed that when I was driving down here, that there was so much life everywhere, like olive trees, fig trees, everywhere. I mean, I can see that just walking through this little patch right here, rosemary, a little olive tree.
You've got thyme, you have wild oregano, you have all things that are native to this part of Greece, are sort of growing in this Mediterranean garden. So now what are you gonna do?
Me? I'm a restless soul. I'm gonna go for a little cooking lesson.
Oh, good for you.
And you?
I'm gonna go for a swim.
Lucky you, dear.
Bye.
See you later.
Okay,
Ciao.
bye.
Every culture in the world has some variation of chicken noodle soup. I'm making one today called kokoras protoyachni. Traditionally, it's made with rooster, that's kokoras in Greek, but I've got a plain old boiling chicken here because I want you to be able to do it at home, and rooster can sometimes be a little hard to find. We're gonna start with chopped red onion. I'm gonna cook this until it's soft, together with some chopped carrot. This is gonna take just a couple of minutes. It's all gonna cook together. It's gonna simmer together with the chicken and tomatoes and water, so it's gonna get nice and soft by the end. The garlic is going in. The chicken is going into the pot whole. And all the best flavor is in the bones. And in Greece, which is still pretty much an agrarian culture, people have a different understanding of how to cook meat. Oftentimes they associate the age of the animal, for example, with a type of cooking method. So we even have an expression for this. The old hen has the juice, which basically means it's the best meat to go into a pot for stew. The tomatoes are going in next. little salt, a little bit of black pepper, and water. We want to get enough water in here to almost cover the chicken. This will start to simmer. It'll be falling off the bone by the time it's done, and I'm going to shred all that beautiful meat and put it back in. But now I want to build the flavor in the pot, and I'm doing that with allspice berries and a bay leaf. I like to add a little bit of thyme and a little fresh oregano in here. I'm just going to tie them together so that they're easier to fish out of the soup when the broth is done. I'm going to cover it, leave the chicken to simmer in here for about an hour and a half. We'll see at the end, the meat will literally be falling off the bone, and that's exactly what we want. Wow. The first thing that comes to my nose is that beautiful perfume from the oregano and the thyme. We have to get the chicken out of the pot. Be a little careful when you do this. You see, totally falling off the bone. That's exactly what we want. And all that good flavor fell off into the soup. The chicken has to cool a bit. The bay leaf also comes out, and so does my little bunch of herbs here. I'm gonna get a little bit more salt in here. I want the broth to be a little bit thick, so I'm adding a little bit of tomato paste. And something a little surprising, just a touch of Greek honey. It's kind of a secret ingredient for me in a lot of recipes. I like that underlying sweetness. Just gonna stir this around. I'm gonna leave the broth to simmer just a little bit. I want all those flavors to develop as much as possible. And I'm gonna start shredding the chicken. You wanna be sure that there's no bone in the soup. And you can make the pieces as big or as small as you like. This is a very hearty chicken noodle soup. I got all this beautiful tender chicken off the bone. This can go. And the next step is to add the pasta. They're called chilopites, and they just take a couple of minutes to cook up. And as soon as the pasta is cooked, I'm gonna add the shredded chicken back in here and serve myself lunch. Do this carefully and slowly so it doesn't splatter. You can see this is a very, very hearty soup. All mixed together. Ready to serve this. I'm very happy to be eating this today because it's the ultimate comfort food. It smells really good. Two finishing touches, just a little bit of local Messinian olive oil, just a touch. And this really interesting Greek grating cheese. It's actually a whey cheese, and it's called mizithra xeri, dried mizithra. And it's the traditional cheese we use in dishes like this, especially in the Peloponnesos. This is ready to taste. This is the taste of every Greek home. It's welcoming and warming, and I can taste the garden outside, the oregano and the thyme, and I can see those roosters strutting around in the yard. All of that is in this soup. I like to pair my kokoras protoyachni with a wine from the Amindeo region, and this is a combination of the Syrah grape and the Xinomavro grape. The rounded tannins, the vanilla, little woody tones in here. This is quite a sophisticated wine, but it goes beautifully with this rich, rustic chicken noodle soup. It's the perfect combination of tradition and innovation. Ησυχία to your health. I'm in beautiful Pylos, in the southern part of the Peloponnese, in Messinian, right above the historic Bay of Navarino, one of the most beautiful places in Greece. And I'm here with Kyria Lula and Kyria Anna. We're doing a pork dish right now, and it's pork with local figs.
Σαλατίσουμε το χοιρινό.
Να ρίξω λίγο πιπεράκι.
Αμέ. Και τώρα το αλευρώνουμε.
Οκ. Λίγο αλευράκι.
Αλλά θέλει πάρα πολύ να το τεινάζουμε.
Για να μην
καλά,
γίνει, να μην στουμπώσει μες στην κατσαρόλα. Σε τώρα το λάδι.
Ναι.
Και έχει ζεσταθεί η κατσαρόλα.
Ναι.
So that's the sound. You can hear that, right? Σιγαρίζω.
Παλιά εδώ ήταν Τούρκοι.
Ναι.
Πολλά χρόνια. Και οι Τούρκοι...
Δεν τρώνε χοιρινό.
Δεν τρώνε χοιρινό.
Ναι.
Και υποχρεωτικά τρώγαμε χοιρινό οι άνθρωποι, είχαν χοιρινό, γιατί αν μαγειρεύανε κάτι άλλο, πηγαίνανε οι Τούρκοι και τους το παίρνανε.
Αυτό έχει πάρα πολύ ενδιαφέρον. We're talking about why there's so much pork in this region. During the years of the Ottoman occupation, which was 400 plus years in this region, Muslims don't eat pork. So the Greeks in this region used to cook more pork because it was something that they could basically enjoy without it being taken from them. Just adding a little white wine from the region. Yeah, that's the cook's shake. That's gonna cook now for at least an hour before she adds everything else to the pot. That looks really good. It smells amazing. And everything is local. The pork is local, the wine is local, the olive oil, of course, is local. The entire region is basically one delicious olive grove.
Βάζουμε λίγο λαδάκι ακόμη.
Okay. Oh, this is really heavy. There's a lot of olive oil in this. Τώρα το κρεμμύδι.
Τώρα το κρεμμύδι.
So the onion is grated, and that's the traditional way of chopping an onion in Greece. You get all the juices.
4 κλωναράκια. Και 2 κομματάκια κανέλα.
Tasika. I have to taste a Messinian fig. They are so meaty. They're so succulent. The onions and the figs have to cook until they both get soft. Then she's going to add the meat back in and finish it off with something that is very dear to my heart, called petimezi. And it's basically grape molasses, and it adds this wonderful, earthy, very subtle sweetness to the dish and a little bit of color. That's going to come out right at the end. Και μυρίζει τέλεια. Ωραία. Οπα, μοσκοβολάει.
Το σκεπάζω, χαμηλώνω πάλι πολύ τη φωτιά μου.
Ωραία.
Μέχρι να βράσει λίγο ακόμη το κρέας, να πάρει τα αρώματα όλα από το κρεμμύδι, από τα σίκα, την κανέλα, τη δάφνη.
Wow.
Τώρα είναι έτοιμο. Να ρίξουμε το πετιμέζι.
Φαίνεται τέλειο. Α, ρίχνετε μπόλικο.
Ναι. Τι χρώμα που πήρε.
Τι. Ναι, φαίνεται πάρα πολύ νόστιμο. Αυτό μπορεί να το πάρω δώρο σε έναν φίλο μου.
Ναι.
Που θα πάω να τον βρω.
Ναι.
Εξάλλου τον ξέρετε τον Peter.
Ο αγαπημένος μας.
Everyone knows my friend Peter. And he's going to be very happy. There isn't a region in Greece that doesn't have some version of a spinach pie. And this is my version of an open-faced spinach tart, inspired by the flavors of Messinia in the Peloponnese. I'm starting with fresh spinach. I just want to get it steamed. I want a coarse chop on the spinach. It's gonna take about 5 or 6 minutes, and the spinach is gonna be nice and wilted. In the meantime, we want to get the leeks and the onions sauteed and then add a little bit of garlic to that. Red onions are the most prevalent onions in Greece. You could use yellow onions, Spanish onions, it doesn't really matter. To my mind, part of the beauty of cooking is reinventing the classics a little bit without straying too far from the integrity, the original integrity of the dish. Let's see what's going on with the spinach. This is exactly what we're looking for. It's beautiful, it's wilted. I'm just gonna let this drain for a few more minutes and cool down. And our leek and onion mixture is ready for the garlic. These are done. The spinach is cooled down. I'm getting that into my mixing bowl so I can get all these ingredients together. The leeks are going right in. Okay. This is the foundation of every single spinach pie in Greece. And from here on, it's basically carte blanche for anything else you want to add. And for this recipe, I'm using a cheese called anthotiro. It's very, very mild. You can see the consistency of it. It's almost like a pressed ricotta. And in fact, you can substitute ricotta if you can't find Greek anthotiro. You just want to break it up into chunks. If you do choose to use ricotta for this recipe, make sure you drain it really well because this is much firmer. I want the filling to be nice and creamy, and this beautiful cheese will give it that texture. Even though it's quite light, it's actually a pretty low-fat cheese. I'm just gonna get that mixed up in here. Just get a little bit of olive oil in here. That also adds to the rich mouthfeel once it's cooked. So let me just taste it. It's probably gonna need a little salt. It does a little bit. And a little black pepper. And almost last, but certainly not least, are the Kalamata olives, already cut into these nice little rounds. It really changes the entire dimension of a typical filling for spinach pie. And ironically enough, in most of the areas of Greece where olives are, the most important ingredient, people don't cook with them. There are very, very few recipes that call for olives in cooked dishes. The last ingredient to go into the filling, a couple of eggs. I want to save 1 for the pastry and 2 for the filling. Just lightly whisked and right into the filling. The filling looks great, nice and creamy. It's ready, and next I'm gonna start on the puff pastry because this is an open-faced tart. Just wanna butter my pan a tiny bit. When you work with puff pastry, if you're buying it frozen, just remember to defrost it slowly overnight from the freezer to the fridge, and then take it out right before you're ready to use it so that it's still nice and firm. I want to roll the puff pastry out so that the edges come to the circumference of the pan. And I'm just going to do that very, very gently. Just push it out. It's actually one of the easiest and most versatile pastries to work with. Yeah, that's beautiful. Cut this to the circumference of the tart pan. Now you can use the excess for other things. For example, you can wrap little dried figs in them or little hot dogs or whatever. Okay, there we go. Remember to put the bottom back in your tart pan. Just lift this, fold it over the circumference of the pan. If it sticks a little, don't worry. Press it in gently. You want a little bit of excess, you want a little bit of overhang, because this is gonna come a little bit over the filling, and it's gonna make a very, very nice decorative finish. Let's get our filling right into the tart pan. This doesn't need to be buttered or anything. Spread this out evenly. Let me get a little bit more in here. Now this will puff up when it bakes, and the rim of the pan will look very different than it does now. What I like to sometimes do is just pull a little bit of it over the filling. I like the kind of rustic edges. That doesn't bother me at all. Because this is an open-faced tart, I like to pour an egg right over the surface. I'm just gonna brush the edges first, because we want that beautiful golden color on the pastry. And the rest goes right over the top. Spread that over it. And this is ready to go into the oven. I'm going to bake it at 375 for about 45 minutes. My kitchen has filled up with the smells of Messinian. Smells great. Wow, I'm really getting, just got a whiff of cheese and a whiff of olives and the beautiful perfume of baked pastry. I just want to let this cool down a little bit before I cut it. It needs around 20 minutes, and then we're going to enjoy it with you. I'm going to slip it out of the tart pan carefully. This looks beautiful. Just going to cut a small piece. Gently. Oh, that looks beautiful. Wow, look at that. Let me just taste it. It's so silky and satiny, I can cut right through it. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would definitely give this a 10. It's creamy. The spinach just gives it that beautiful earthy spinach flavor. The cheese is really silky, and it's a perfect balance to the tartness and the brininess of the Kalamata olives. But it's the pastry that makes this totally irresistible. This rich, creamy, elegant tart, to me, calls out for a big red. And I'm pairing it today with a xinomavro from Amindeo. I think it's going to be really nice together. Let's see. Indeed. Light smokiness. It's really earthy, this wine. It's unfiltered. So it's got this beautiful mocha, almost mushroomy taste to it. And it's a perfect pairing to this elegant, earthy tart. Isihian. Peter, my buddy, this is wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. It's nice to have someone to share all of this with.
Yamas.
Yamas.
This is great.
Delicious. You know, there's lots of beautiful places in the world, but what you also have here is you slow down while you're here.
Yeah, I think there really is something about this idea of marrying the water with the mountains. And I mean, we were driving down here. It was so lush.
I mean, it really is a breadbasket, you know, when you drive down, you kind of don't expect it. You know, and it's like that all year long.
It's special down here. Maybe even an islander like me will think about coming down on a more permanent basis.
I think everybody here would be really happy if you did that. Yamas.